Hey, I don't know how I missed this. This was a few days ago, but yesterday people sent me clips, and I do want to talk about it because there's some interesting stuff here. I was going to say a journalist, a man named Dan Ball from OAN, One America News, had a one-on-one interview with Donald Trump. Apparently, the interview was very long, and it was a bizarre interview in every way. And I think there's a few interesting things here, and I want to look at them with you. Let's start with the first clip where Donald Trump again pushes the big lie that he actually won in 2020, and then claims the country's not actually going to survive this. Now, that has some interesting implications. Let's listen.
Again, I don't want to be naive. I think they're grossly incompetent. I really do. I don't think it's the votes because they cheat on the elections. They don't need votes. They cheat on the elections. I mean, you look at 43,000 votes were found last night. They cheat on elections. When you cheat on elections, you don't have to destroy the country. They're destroying our country. Our country will not survive this. Our country will not survive.
And what does that mean? The country won't survive what? It won't survive Joe Biden being president for 4 years? What exactly is it that the country won't survive? And what's the timeline? And it's funny how these right-wingers claim the left is hyperbolic when the left says there is a timeline on dealing with climate change, after which we could hit a point of no return. They say, look at that hyperbole. And then Trump says the country's not going to survive this. What do you mean?
Look at where they're coming from. They're coming from Yemen. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from all countries that are very sick countries, very sick, very mean, nasty. They're coming from all countries that have...
So Trump getting visibly confused there, and this goes back to immigration and the unproven idea that terrorists from Yemen and other countries are coming through the U.S.-Mexico border. We still have no evidence of that. It could happen. Theoretically, that could happen. We have no evidence that that's actually taking place. Trump then saying, again, his line about the cupboards were bare when he took over, but saying nobody could have predicted a pandemic. Who could have predicted it?
Masks. We were doing... What we did, all of the cupboards were bare, including the U.S. cupboard. The governors didn't have anything. We didn't, because nobody really ever thought a pandemic would happen. It sounds like sort of an ancient thing, or go back to...
Now, of course, no one could have predicted a pandemic other than the pandemic response team, which Trump disbanded when he became president. And they even left a playbook about what to do in the case of a pandemic, which they threw out.
1917, which was so bad.
Oh, and Trump also mentioning the 1917 flu, which was, of course, in 1918. Very, very strange stuff. Then the interview moves on, and OAN host Dan Ball feeds the idea to Trump that Joe Biden is shipping people in from the Middle East to red states to try to cheat an election. The interviewer feeding Trump conspiracy theories.
Why do you think... And this is another thing, just talking about the Middle East. Why would the Biden administration want to allow, by the end of this year, by most figures I've looked up, it's going to be 1.5, 2 million illegals in. Yeah, 2 million by the end of the year. Why would you want to do that? Are you trying to then, and we see where we're shipping them. They're shipping them to the Midwest, the South.
Listen, is there more dehumanizing language than saying you're shipping people like it's a computer?
Red states mostly. Is this a plan for another way to cheat at elections?
So they say it's the votes, but I don't think so again. I don't want to be naive. I think they're grossly incompetent.
Then it gets into the segment that we looked at earlier. You have to understand that they continue to insist undocumented immigrants from Latin America are coming here in order to vote and cheat in elections. Undocumented immigrants or non-citizens of any kind can't vote. And similarly, if an asylum seeker or refugee gets here from Afghanistan or wherever, they can't vote. They are not citizens, at least not initially. There's a long process there. And so this is completely and totally made up. Then they get into the COVID death toll is inflated. It's not. They continue to repeat this one.
We did a great job. In addition, we report all of our COVID at a level that nobody in the world does. If somebody's dying of a heart attack and dying of cancer, and they're somewhere close to being somebody with COVID, they put it down as COVID.
Now that's a lie. It is not true that if you have a heart attack and your sister had COVID and you die from the heart attack, they say you died of COVID because your sister. It's just not true.
Because believe it or not, the doctors get more money.
Yes.
You know that, right?
Can we please clarify?
Now, that's also not true. What this goes back to is the fact that it's more expensive to treat COVID patients on average. And so Medicare pays more money to hospitals that are treating because the hospitals incur greater costs and are doing more things. It's a complete lie that by just claiming someone has COVID, you get more money. That it's been widely debunked.
that, because that has upset me and I think millions of Americans
Well, it's upset people, but it's a lie.
for the last 18 months. This 623,000 death toll and the lovely, and we'll get to CNN in a minute in the fake news, their lovely death ticker they had up for the last 18 months, scaring the bejesus out of American citizens, I think to me is treasonous, but that's another
Right.
story for another day with you.
Well, they
Death counters are treason.
did have it, by the way. And
but it's
again,
not 623, is it?
It's not much
because
less.
it died
It's
with
much
and
less.
died from.
And
They
by
put
the
them
way,
together.
if you look at China's real numbers, and if you look at other real numbers, and if
All
you
right,
look
so
at
you guys understand what's going on there. Just an outrageous interview where it's often just Trump telling the lies, but in this one, the interviewer is as much of a participant in the lies. And then lastly, really wacky, Trump suggests that Fox News was part of a conspiracy to steal the election from him.
And then I'm upset in Arizona, and Fox called it early when I was leading big. What did Fox know to do that?
Before we wrap things up here, I want to give a big thank you to not only President Donald J. Trump.
Yeah. So how did Fox know to call it early? A wacky interview, and unfortunately, people are watching OAN. People are watching this stuff. Very, very concerning, and it's too radical for Fox News. Understand that they now criticize Fox News as part of the problem, and it's only Newsmax and OAN that will really tell you the truth. Crazy uphill battle that we are fighting here. One of our sponsors is Shaker and Spoon, the monthly cocktail subscription box that delivers the ingredients and recipes for amazing craft cocktails right to your door. I use Shaker and Spoon to make cocktails at home. Always fun. The last one I made was Citrus Paradisi. Nice combination of vodka, tonic, lime, green tea, and rose. Nothing better than rose. You open the box, everything you need is right there. The recipe card, all the ingredients except for the alcohol. It's great because they always have ingredients that are really high quality and hard to find. The instructions are easy, so my cocktails always turn out great, even though I don't know anything about mixing drinks. But you learn a lot of new things about cocktails using Shaker and Spoon, which I love about it. Opening up your Shaker and Spoon box is a great way to spend a night in, and you'll get $20 off when you use promo code PACMAN at checkout. Go to shakerandspoon.com/Pacman. The link is down below.